Welcome everybody to the seasonal diet, eating what our ancestors ate when they ate it, like we were evolved to do. My favorite southern cooking, even though I'm basically all Northern European, I can't resist good southern cooking. So today we're making one of my favorites, jambalaya, but we're doing it a little bit differently. We're using ingredients that would be in season in the spring, and I change up the recipe a little bit to make it a little bit more adaptable to my ancestral diet and many of yours watching if you have ancestry from the north of Europe. So jambalaya was a dish made in the U.S. Southern states, specifically Louisiana, influenced by West African cooking there. So it's a pretty recent recipe, but a lot of people agree that it was inspired by the much older Spanish recipe paella, okay? So we're doing that here and we're making it with all in-season ingredients, like I've mentioned in videos this week. The spring is a time where our ancestors didn't have a lot to eat. There was not a lot growing, especially in cooler places in the world, so they had to make do with what they have. So the main two meat ingredients here are sausage, which of course pork is a main food staple over the winter months because that's the easiest to keep and maintain throughout the winter, and also the shrimp. Shrimp are great at pretty much any time of year, but they're better in the cooler months when the water is colder. You usually would put some chicken in here too, but our ancestors really did not eat a whole lot of chicken until these massive factory productions started 100 years ago or so. Before that, ancestors really did not eat a whole lot of chicken. They kept them more for eggs. So I'm just putting sausage and shrimp in here this time, and some of the other ingredients, butter and oil, of course, those are going to be available year-round. Next is the Creole seasoning, but most of the ingredients in the Creole seasoning are actually native to Europe as well, that our ancestors would have had access to for a long time. Everything besides really the paprika and the cayenne pepper have been available in Europe for quite a long time, 1, 2, 3,000 years at least, so we have that. Next we are chopping up some celery. That's going to go in with it. I like to put all this stuff into with the sausage. I like it a little bit crispy before we put in the water and the rice, so that's the way I do it, but some others do it differently. And celery is one of the few vegetables that are in season in the spring. Like I said, most of the other vegetables like the garlic or onion, which we would usually cut up and put into the jambalaya, those aren't harvested until the fall, so we are using some preserved garlic and onion powder, like our ancestors would have had to do at this time of year as well. And then we're doing everything else. We're putting it all in. I put a little bit of extra onion and garlic powder in there because the Creole seasoning is a little heavy on the salt there. Next comes the rice. This has not been available in the north of Europe for very long either, but it has been imported to Europe from the east and even from Africa for thousands of years. So even in the north of Europe it is possible that they had some access to some rice. I like to do, for normal rice that I'm cooking, double the amount of water that the rice you put in, but for the jambalaya it needs a little bit more because there's so much other ingredients in there, so I go 2.5 times. Top it off with a little more Creole sauce, and then that's it. Put it on low and let it cook for a while. Now, very important, the shrimp has to go in last. If you cook that for too long, more than a couple minutes, it's not going to be good. It's going to be all soggy and stuff. So just in the past few minutes, when there still is a little bit of water in there, that's the time to put on the shrimp. Let it all cook for a little bit longer, and then you're all done, ready to eat. Now, don't get mad. What I'm doing here is blasphemy to some of you watching. I don't even like doing this myself, but the Northern European in me in the springtime, I gotta put some cheese in there. And also some cream. This is mainly what the diet of Northern Europe would have been based around. It's the dairy products. We would have had this every meal in the scarcity food months in the springtime. So I put it in there, but this is not how I make my jambalaya year-round. This is just how I like to eat it now because we like to make use of the ingredients that our ancestors also would have had access to at this time of year. So Let me know, is that disgusting or do you maybe want to try it? Let us know down below. There'll be a lot more jambalaya recipes here coming because it is my favorite food. You can do so much with it, and there are so many different ways to make it, and different ingredients could be used at different times of year to make sure everything is in season. But that's all for today.